All right, guys, as you all have probably found out by now, OpenAI just dropped what they call Agent Builder, which is their pretty much no code drag and drop N8N retail, their version of an AI automation kind of platform. Now, the biggest thing is N8N dead? Are these other platforms dead? Did OpenAI just win the AI race? Well, to keep the long story short, no, and not at all, not even close. And in all honesty, it's not even close to N8N. They're two kind of different worlds and serve very two different purposes. I haven't even explored it yet, so I'm going to bring you guys along with me and let's just jump around, see what this platform's all about, see what we can build on it, and just kind of check it out together. So as soon as you load into the interface, you're going to see it looks sort of like N8N or all these other platforms. You have your trigger here. You have the nodes that you have here, which obviously if you're coming from N8N, you're like, that's it. So that already off the bat is kind of like, okay, well, clearly this is in early stages. And then you kind of see, agent and note, which I assume is sticky note, file search. But let's actually dive deeper into what these are and what purposes they serve and what are we actually going to be able to build with this? What does this serve? Because as you know, N8N is more so like automation and workflows and being able to call on different APIs and softwares and tie things together. And this more seems like more of a chatbot kind of builder, almost like a conversational flow agent, like a chat widget. So very, very different from N8N. So more so we should be asking our platforms like 11 Labs, our platforms like Vappy or VoiceFlow. Are those platforms dead? Well, let's figure it out. All right, well, the first node obviously is going to be agent. So let's go ahead and click on it and then just open it up and see what we have. Our agent is going to be the backbone, the entire, brain of our operations. It is what we would be building. So what it is, I guess here we give it a prompt, we give it instructions, how we want it to behave, tone. This is basically almost like the system message that we would give like our OpenAI nodes or any LLM node in N8N. Here we have include chat history, so this is giving it like some sort of memory. We have the model that we want it to use. Obviously, you're very restricted here because you can only use OpenAI's model. You can't use something like OpenRouter and call on Claude or DeepSeek. So we are restricted there, but you do get direct access to OpenAI's model. Reasoning, so do you want to spend time thinking about its output and basically proving why? Um, it all depends on what you're trying to do. Now, here's the big thing is tools. Now, us N8N guys, we're very familiar with giving an AI agent tools. It's basically giving it things that it can use to accomplish the task that we want it to accomplish. But if we look here, very, very limited on tools, you may think, because we're coming from N8N and we can use tons of tools and even custom tools, which you still can here. But we're trying to think in the mind of like chatbot, chat widget, okay? We need to think of what would we want a chatbot to be able to do on a company's website. So we have the client tool here, which is just basically a custom function. The model will intelligently decide to call functions based on input it receives from the user. Pretty cool. But the big tool that everybody is kind of making a bunch of noise about is the MCP server. Now, MCPs can be pretty complicated, especially in N8N. You kind of have to make your own MCP, if that makes sense. But here they just have it directly integrated with these MCP servers for the software. So pretty cool. So if we wanted to have one of our agents in here be solely dedicated to checking the calendar and looking for past haircut appointments and scheduling new ones and rescheduling and canceling. Well, if we give it access to the Google Calendar MCP, we just add our access token and then we give it a tool description. This now can do everything with our Google Calendar. Pretty cool. Now, what makes that so much different compared to N8N is obviously if we wanted to make an MCP, we'd have to make our own. And also, if we wanted to make a calendar agent in N8N, we have to give it each individual task for the Google Calendar tool, in which there's about 30 of them that it can do with Google Calendar. So we'd have to connect like 30 different nodes, give it 30 different descriptions and tool descriptions. But here, you just give it access to the Google Calendar, and it knows what it can and can't do. Pretty cool, and it's the same with all these other things too. Like Stripe, you can make a payment collector agent. You can connect it with Zapier, which is pretty cool. Shopify, I'm not too familiar with MCP and like Shopify and Zapier, but I'm definitely going to dive deeper into that so I can make more videos teaching you guys how to use this stuff. But MCP and how easy that they have made it is definitely a big win for OpenAI. Next thing is you can choose how the agent outputs. You have text here, you have JSON, and then you have this thing called widget and ChatKit. Now let's go ahead and check out exactly what this output is. Now, when you click widget, this little plus button with widget's going to pop up. Okay, now this, mind you, this is the output format that we want our agent to output in. So we're going to click it, and then if we click create, it pulls us to this little interface called Widget Builder, where it looks like we can prompt OpenAI to build us like a widget, which in this case seems to be an interface that the agent, I guess, connects or speaks to us in. So if we click gallery over here, we can see widgets that already exist. So this might give you a better idea of what a widget is. So remember, this is the output. This is what we want our agent to output and interact with us with. So if you can see here, let's say we built an agent that's sole purpose is just giving us the weather for specific cities. Well, if we gave it access to this widget, this is what it would give us. Okay, so instead of giving us just like a paragraph of text saying, oh, okay, the weather in San Francisco is a low 47, high 69, we then get this. Just a very cool and simple interactive UI or interface, front end interface that the user gets to, I guess, interact with. So this might not be a big deal. You're like, okay, it's just the weather. But think of it in terms of for a business where if it's like a haircut place, you can make some sort of cool front end that looks like this or has appointment kind of calendar stuff, ad calendar. You can just get really creative and make the user experience and client experience more user friendly. So that's another really, really big win for OpenAI is this widget builder kind of way to have your agent output in a widget. Because as you know, N8N, we can't do that. And some other things here like continue on error, which that's pretty self-explanatory. If there's an error, it just will continue to output. Write to conversation history, show search sources if we give it access to. If we go back into the tools, we have file search here. Basically, this is very simple for us that have dealt with RAG or anything like that. It's just the agent's knowledge base. If you want to give it access to, like, let's say this was a customer support agent for a haircut or hair salon place, and we wanted to give it access to their pricing or anything to do with their company, you just give it a knowledge base. So that's basically the ability to read files. Next thing is a web search tool. As we know, LLMs can't directly themselves search the live web. So when you give it access to web search, you can give it a specific URL that you want it to search for, or you can just leave it open and it can do the searching on its own. Let's say that you wanted it to specifically monitor what its competitors are doing, or you wanted it to monitor Zillow, like you built a Zillow agent. You can have this thing, you can feed it in Zillow and then basically give it some details on why you want it to search for Zillow or why you want it to search. Because let's say we just had the weather agent, we don't want it to specifically search for one. We want it to be able to get all the data possible on the weather and then output in that widget. And then we have some more developer friendly stuff here like custom functions and stuff like that. I can dive deeper into that in another video. But so far, that's pretty much the agent node, and it just basically the same as anything you would build on retail or voice flow. It's just an AI agent. So if we go to end here, okay, now you might kind of be thinking like, okay, end, why would I want this to end? Well, if you're having a conversation with one of these agents, right? And let's say after it gives the weather, okay, let's say this agent's specific job is just to give the weather, make sure it's to ask the user, what city, um, what days are you going, this, and that. After it gives the weather, we don't want it to carry on with a conversation other than outputting the weather, right? So once it gives us the detailed weather report, we want this agent's job to be done, okay? Now there might be other agents, so after this ends, it might move on to another agent, which is like the travel agent or the itinerary agent that takes the weather, takes their time that they're going, their activities, and then plans activities or even tells them what to pack. Okay, we did just talk about the file search node, which can also be a tool for the agent. Basically, you are just connecting a vector store, right? So if you go in here, it'll tell you how to create a vector store. Basically, all that is, if you don't know already, it's just taking a document, vectorizing it, or basically giving each word or chunk of paragraph a code or a vector, which is just a series of numbers that the computer can recognize. And that way, when it searches for something relevant, when it's asking the knowledge base, hey, this person's asking how much do our regular haircuts cost, when it pulls back information from the knowledge base, it's only pulling back relevant information. It vectorizes the user's input, and then it vectorizes the knowledge base, and then finds which vectors match up closely or closest to then give its answer or its output. Something that is really, really awesome that OpenAI added that I think is going to make chatbots just when, especially when this stuff starts to develop and get further down the line, as it is brand new, is guardrails. The guardrail node. It's basically you preventing, because a lot of the problems we have with LLMs nowadays is they do these things. They hallucinate. They give inaccurate information and stuff. So let's go ahead and look at some of these things that OpenAI added to their agent builder to then make your agent more, I guess, protected against giving wrong information, hallucinations, and things like that. The first thing we have is personally identifiable information. So what this is going to do if we turn it on is it just detects and redacts personally identifiable information. What that is like social security numbers, all those numbers that basically we want protected. So it will protect against that. So the next thing we have here is moderation. What this is it classifies and blocks harmful content. So if someone's trying to speak to it with hate speech, harassment, racism, just things that, like, you know, people are crazy nowadays. People will try to, let's say this was a hair salon place and they just started texting racial slurs to it, or just saying things that we don't really want within our company. It can then block and protect against that, which is really cool. The next thing is jailbreak. This is the most important thing, okay? It detects prompt injections and jailbreak attempts to keep the model on task. So what this is like, say some 14-year-old kid finds a chatbot online and he wants to get it to do something that it's not supposed to do. Like starts asking about political things, or you know what I'm saying, if you get the gist. I don't want to go too deep into it. Pretty much it keeps the model on its task. So if we task this thing with scheduling appointments and someone asks about how many planets are in the universe, it will stay on task. The biggest issue we have with our AI systems and when we use LLMs is they hallucinate. And especially when we're using things like RAG and a knowledge base and we're interacting with customers who are asking information about our company, the biggest worry we have is it giving wrong information, it hallucinating. But this detects potential hallucinations by taking the output of the agent and comparing it, basically doing another check to the knowledge source to make sure that there's no wrong information. That is amazing. That is the best thing that they've come out with. I haven't seen it anywhere. I could be wrong. Leave in the comments if I'm wrong. But that is probably the best thing that they've come out with. What is this guardrail feature? And then continue on error, which is fine. I mean, everything has continue on error, even the agent itself does. But these, and you can even customize the settings, the percentage on how strict you want it to be, the jailbreaks, everything is just, I mean, this is some really good stuff, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of platforms and softwares in the future coming out with this sort of tool. And as you know, we have an MCP here, which obviously the agent already has. Already went through what MCP is. And then probably one of the most important nodes when it comes to making like a conversational flow is the if else. If you're familiar with N8N, you already know what this is. If you're not, basically what it does is, like, for example, let's say this agent is tasked with finding out if the client is either a new client or an existing client. What it'll do is, let's say we told this agent, hey, your only job is to decide if they're new or they're an existing client. Then we hooked it up to this if else node, okay? And we have one path. Let me go ahead and just create two paths. We have one path that is if they're an existing client, and we have one path is if they're a new client. Well, the reason why we want to split down different paths is if it's a new client, we want another agent that's tasked with treating them like a new client, answering any questions, scheduling appointments. But if it's an existing client, we want this agent's identity to be okay. They're existing. They've worked with us before. They probably want to reschedule an appointment. They might be upset. Things like that. So this node right here, and you're going to see plenty of them down the line too, because maybe this one they want to reschedule. You could branch it off and have them reschedule. But this basically controls the flow and the route of where the conversation goes. The next thing is a while over here. All this is a loop, basically having a task repeat itself until the desired output is achieved. I've never seen a loop used in a chatbot kind of conversational flow agent system, but I mean, it's good to have just in case. Next thing, which is really good for certain use cases, is the user approval, or this is also called human in the loop. It basically will not continue if the human until a human approves or rejects the output. So let's say this agent comes up with we have a proposal generator here, and we interact with it, and we say, hey, we need a proposal for, let's say we're a roofing company. This person wants X, Y, and Z. Access our knowledge base and create a proposal and send it to their email. But before we send it to their email, even if we have the guardrails set up and everything, it still might do something wrong. So we want a human in the loop or user approval node to then make sure, hey, we can look over it, and then once we approve it, then it will continue and send on, or it'll continue with whatever we want. It'll send the email, or it'll just continue the flow, if that makes sense. Then we have the transform data node here and the set state. The transform is basically like a custom code node in N8N or a set node, wherever we can basically take data or take an output from an agent or even an input, and we can customize and how it looks or what we want to do. Basically, what we're doing is we're transforming the data, the output from this agent. So let's say we have this agent here, then we have this agent here, and we need this data to go through some sort of transformation for this agent to be able to understand, read it, and do what it wants with it, okay? So what this is like a set node from N8N. So let's say this agent outputs something. Let's say it outputs new client, but the variable name is something other than new client. It's like some random name. We can go ahead and we can just put that through this set state node, and then we can just name it. So we can go ahead here and do output text, and then you can do equals and then name it whatever you want to name it. And then I skipped over a note here, but it's just like sticky note from N8N. Basically, if you were trying to show someone what's going on or just to keep track for yourself, you can just double click in here and then type whatever's going on. So we could say this one is new or old, right? And then we can put this over, lets me drag it, and then we can put that over this agent here. That way we know what this agent is. Obviously, you can rename this. So you can go here and say client. You can go new or old client. You can see it changes it there. But just to keep track of where we are in the flow if needed. Another cool thing they have here is they have some templates, because honestly, I'm very new to when it comes to chatbots and stuff like this. So this is all new to me. I do have AI automation skills and understanding. I've done a lot in N8N, so a lot of the fundamentals are the same. But building a chatbot versus building like an AI automation or an agentic workflow are very different, because the outcome that you're trying to achieve and the flow of the data is very different. So we just look into here, we click on this customer service template. You can see here, it's exactly what I was talking about. It's a chatbot, or it's a customer support chatbot, chat widget, whatever you want to call it. So when people are saying N8N is dead, they're just trying to get clicks. And to be honest, all I do here is try to be as authentic as possible. I'm not trying to clickbait people. I'm just trying to tell it like it is, and it's not. N8N is in a different universe than OpenAI's Agent Builder. Who knows in the future? But they just serve two different purposes. Like if you were gonna build a chatbot, you would not build it in N8N. You would go to like retail or OpenAI's Agent Builder or VoiceFlow, Vappy. Just two different kinds of softwares that just serve two completely different purposes. And N8N is just, you can just do so much. This thing is kind of limited to one sort of system, if that makes sense. Yes, you can do a lot with this. There's a lot you can do with MCP and stuff like that. But if you look here, if we go ahead and we look at all these templates, right? They all kind of go in this flow where it's like, okay, you have an agent, you interact with it in a chat window, it decides what's going on, and then it decides what agent you talk to next. Kind of like when you call into, let's say, a bank. You call into your bank and it says press 1 to speak to debit and credit, or press 2 to speak to the loan department. It's kind of what's happening here in all these systems. Like if we check internal knowledge assistant, we go in here. Once again, you have a query rewrite. Rewrite the user's questions to be more specific and relevant to knowledge base. So it's a user interacting with a chat box. And then you have an agent that classifies, where if they have a Q&A, and it's just a conversational flow over and over again. Still a very, very good use case. I think chatbots are awesome. I think having some sort of interactive interface with a client that they can get answers like this, because as we know, humans are very, very short attention span. So if you can have something that can interact with them and give them all the answers, your chances of having a better experience and than waiting on the phone or um, sending an email and waiting for a response back and just literally going on to your competition. This is good stuff. It really is. But when people are comparing it to N8N, it kind of makes me laugh. All right, so let's go ahead and interact with this customer support, um, conversational chatbot flow, whatever you want to call it, that they have for us to interact with and try out. So let's just go in here and let's start off with, hey, I had a question about a product that I just ordered. Let's just leave it at that and see what it does. So you can see here it's using its jailbreak, its guardrail, to determine if the user's input is reasonable, which obviously it decided that it was because we are being very genuine. Hey, I had a question about a product that I just ordered. So now it's asking, hey, now you could see it moved into the information agent. Okay. So what it did was it determined that our request was reasonable. It went into a classification agent that then classifies, okay, are they returning an item, canceling a subscription, or do they want information? It then determined that we wanted information because we do. We have a question. And then it puts us into the information agent. Then we're going to say, hey, it was broken upon arrival. I want to know how can turn it for a new one. So you can see here it's going to go back through the start, right? It's going to make sure that our response was reasonable once again. The classifier agent's going to say, okay, now they need to return an item, so let's have them talk to the return agent. Basically, like if you were on the phone and they were like, okay, let me forward you to the return department. So you can see here, this is the response we got. So I'm sorry to hear that your item arrived broken. We can definitely arrange a replacement for you with free shipping. Please provide your order number and any photos of the damaged product, and we'll get the replacement process started right away. Now, the reason why we have a user approval here is because what if this is completely wrong? Like, what if this return agent, which we'll dive deeper into what this agent has access to, like if it has access to a knowledge base or anything like that, but we want to make sure that this could be completely wrong. What if we don't offer free shipping? And what if, unfortunately, we're not responsible for what happens on the transit there? That would be like Amazon that would be responsible for that. You know what I mean? So that's why there's a user approval here. So let's go ahead and approve that. That abides by our company policies and stuff. And you can see here, end would be your return is on the way after they submit their, or we submitted our images and things like that of the product. Now you can see they went very, very vague here. It is a template. Offer a replacement device with free shipping. If we were building this for a real like e-commerce store, we would go very, very deep into it. And obviously, probably my guys here, they're guys and gals that are watching this that are delving a lot deeper into building chatbots and stuff. You would probably know better than me. And but basically, this is all this is. It's a chatbot builder essentially. It's an interactive, conversational flow agent that, in my opinion, has some really good stuff. Like this jailbreak guardrail is really, really cool, and I like personally what I'm noticing is how every time the user inputs something, it restarts at the beginning, which is really, really cool because let's say on kind of like voice flow, or which you can do. I do know that that you can have like universal nodes. This just kind of makes it a lot easier when everything starts from left to right. Okay, we could be talking about canceling my subscription, and then my next chat could be a question about, well, I had this item that I wanted to return, and it will immediately route me to this agent that is prompted and has all the tools and knowledge about returning items, and it won't even know that we switched agents. So you can literally start from the beginning every time. And then let's say you figure out it was a troll or whatever, and then they say something, it's like, okay, sorry, we're not going to do this anymore because of this jailbreak guardrail. Okay, you can see all it has on is jailbreak, but we could put something here, right? You can add a hallucination guardrail, and if we wanted to put that here, because you could see, we go to more and tools, if we gave this access to a real knowledge base and we wanted to make sure that it didn't hallucinate and give wrong information, we just go over here to guardrail again, right? Drag it to our information agent, and then go over to hallucination and turn it on. Now, obviously, we have to have our vector store and everything set up, but you get the idea of how good these guardrails really are going to be when people start putting this into production. All right, now putting something like this into production. You're going to see here, all right, now putting this into production, because obviously we're not going to put this, we're not going to like give them this link and be like, okay, customers, go to this website and talk with this. That's not how that works. If you know any chatbots, it's a super personalized, branded, kind of like robot thing window that pops up on their website. Well, if we go to code here, we have Agents SDK, and then we also have what's called ChatKit. So if we go ahead and click on follow the ChatKit quick start, say that 5 times, and then paste the workflow ID below to embed this into your product being your website. So we can read through these documents, but I mean, we are in the era of AI. So all I would do if I were you is quite literally, I would go through all of these. I would copy this entire thing. I would feed this into an OpenAI or a ChatGPT or a Claude project, and then just ask all the questions like, hey, how do I get set up with putting this chatbot that I built? You know what? I'm going to do it for you guys. We're going to do it together just to make sure that I'm not bullshitting. I mean, I think AI is smart enough now. I don't even think we need to make a project. I mean, I would, especially if you plan on building us a bunch. But we're just going to say, use this to help me deploy my chatbot to a website. Cool thing we can do too is go to advanced integration docs and then literally copy the entire thing. Now, let's go ahead and stop that. I didn't even know that there was an advanced one. Well, now I'm just going to say, here's the advanced one. And now it literally gives you an advanced self-hosted chat kit setup that you can drop into your stack. You can ask it questions because now it has this to reference back to. I do recommend making some sort of like RAG agent and just putting this in there, or actually making a project where it has that as its knowledge base that can continuously refer back to and then output an answer. But I mean, like I said, we're in the age of AI. We can figure out how to input this, flow that we built here into production. That's evaluate, not production. Into production and start having clients, and then there's just so much more you can build off this, right? You can build, AI league magnets, and this is good stuff. I am a firm believer in chatbots. I think they directly correlate with the customer experience, because then you're not only capturing leads, you're interacting with them, you're answering questions. It's just all good stuff. And now with the ability to have agents output in widgets, like that's crazy. This can output in like some crazy, who knows what you can come up with, because you can literally just go to create and then prompt what kind of widget you want. Like, let's say this is for a haircut studio and I wanted to come up with some crazy haircut where like logoed interface where like the words are like hair clippings falling. You never know what you can do. I just think this is really cool. I don't think it should be compared to N8N. I do think it is a conversational flow chatbot builder, and it's really good stuff. I got a lot of videos I'm going to make on this as I'm still learning a lot about this. I did just want to go over the basic fundamentals, like all the nodes and what they do, some of the good stuff they come out with, and some of the bad stuff, which is I've heard their MCP doesn't work too good just yet. There's not a lot of integrations yet, but this is a good start. OpenAI is heading down a good path, but it's not N8N. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope to see you guys in the next one, and look forward to a lot more videos. Only if you guys want. If you guys want me to stick to N8N stuff, fine. But leave a like and a comment, and I will dive deeper into this, and we'll just start pumping out some agent builder content as well. But again, I really appreciate the support. I think we're at 40 subs now. Keep smashing it. Keep it growing. It allows me to make stuff like this for you guys. I enjoy interacting with you guys. Leave a comment. Don't be scared. Questions, anything, suggestions, advice. We're just trying to be authentic here, and I enjoy doing this for you guys. We'll see you in the next one.